I'm Anthony Beery. I live in Cumberland, Virginia, Cumberland County. I'm a farmer here. We farm a couple hundred acres of corn and soybeans, and we also farm hay. We do small square bales for horse hay, high quality hay, and also straw. We grow wheat as well and make straw from that. So we are in Palmer Amaranth country down here. We have a lot of problems with Palmer here. It's a challenge to control, as anybody that has been familiar with it knows. So one of the things that I've done is to try to put a lot of biomass on top of the ground with a cover crop before I plant. And so 2 years ago, we used rye, cereal rye, and let it grow out all the way to antithesis. It was 6 feet tall, and we rolled it down and planted in it green. We planted in most of it green. That works pretty well with some challenges. So because you have such a biomass on top, it can be hard to get cut through. We rolled it down primarily after we planted for that particular reason, trying to make sure that we'd get the corn in the ground. We did some right before we planted it, but we did that field. It was a nice big field. We had the GPS coordinates set on both tractors, and so we could roll the direction that we were planting. And so that didn't work too bad to do it beforehand. I do think rolling after you plant is not ideal. It can be. I felt like I got some stand loss because of the amount of biomass on top, that the corn just couldn't quite come up through it.
This year I switched over to wheat, again wanting to plant green and wanting to let it go until time to plant corn without getting that big biomass, especially the height that rye gets. So we found that worked well. It flows through the planter a little easier, but the biggest thing is planting green just makes it flow better through the planter. It cuts better. It doesn't wrap. It's just a huge difference between planting green and planting yellow or even brown. So definitely saw some improvements with that. We didn't crimp any of the crop this year. We just let it stand. Last year, I borrowed a crimper that we used. We crimped everything and planted into it. Mostly crimped it after we planted, just due to the fact that we had so much biomass. We were afraid we weren't going to cut through it. So this year, we just decided to plant in standing, just with our time factors and everything. We decided to skip the crimping. Planting standing, again, works well. We did see a little wrapping on some older row cleaners I had. They were spike tooth row cleaners. They did wrap occasionally, and also you'll see some wrapping sometimes, basically on anything that's got a spike. I used a Dawn curved tine closing wheel. They have kind of a curved tooth to them, and they can wrap on occasion, but not a big deal in the green crop. I'm happy with the control that I'm seeing on the Palmer with the cover crop, the heavy cover crop. The residue there definitely holds down the Palmer. I saw less of it last year. Definitely a difference between bare ground and where there's a cover crop. And I'm seeing good control this year, even though I had less biomass with the wheat instead of rye. So real happy with that. Not a silver bullet, the cover crops, but they do a good job at helping to control some of this Palmer, some of these tough weeds that we're having trouble with. One thing I'd also mention is that you do need to watch for the nitrogen tie up on corn. With that big cover crop, it's going to tie up some nitrogen, so you need to make sure that you're watching that. I use a PSNT as a tool to help track that a little bit and make sure that I'm not shorting my corn for nitrogen. One additional strategy in helping to minimize the nitrogen tie-up that cover crops can cause with the high biomass on cereal crops like rye and wheat and barley, other cereal crops,
is to plant a multi-species crop with it. So planting legumes, brassicas can help with that, especially legumes, of course, because they fix nitrogen. I've had good success with hairy vetch. Also, clover, crimson clover is a good choice, or Austrian winter pea. All three of those fix nitrogen and grow well with the particular cereal crops as well. I've had, as I say, have had good success with that in seeing some nitrogen that follows over to the corn crop behind them, and I try to track that using the PSNT, which is not a perfect tool for that, but I feel like I'm getting at least a general idea on what's there.